Okay. Did you try the code which I was given? Whether it was able to throw any exceptions, any errors, segmentation fault? Yes. I want the response. Otherwise, I'll continue with my regular class. If you not tried, I'll continue with my regular class. No use of revisions. If you are not doing the exercise what I was given. Only effort is going from our end. What about your side? Any of you tried that code to execute to see whether anything you are getting? I need the response from your end. Small 6 to 7 line of code I was given for execution. How many of you tried? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Audible or not?
Yes, sir.
Many of you tried. The program at which I was given to try in different programming language. Almost sufficient time has given, right? Monday, today, Thursday. 3 4 days I was given. Did you try to execute that code? If you are not doing anything, then how we can expect a good involvement in the learning? Any of you noted down the question of it? Sure. At least you try to execute now. One of you share your screen and Execute. Without doing practically, how you will understand? What you are getting error? Warning message. Initializer starting string for array of characters is too long. Why? Because intended was 10 characters. It is more than 10 characters. It means that buffer overflow. Segmentation fault. Did you try to see whether it gives the results or not? I need response, otherwise simply waste of time. Why it has given, after giving warning, it has given segmentation fault. Warning messages can be ignorable. Yes or no? You can bypass the warning message, not the syntax error. If any syntax error, then it will compiler tell you to correct. If there is no syntax error, it will continue to execute. During execution, it is getting segmentation fault. Segmentation faults, it is nothing but a memory error. So attacker looks these kind of faults in the code, and with or without modification, they are going to exploit the coding. Okay, let's have one video, small video. Then I will go and explain theoretically.
As you're probably aware, the applications that we're using store everything that they need in the memory of your computer. And usually the application is very specific about what information it changes or what information it adds to the memory. But there is an attack type that takes advantage of this reading and writing of memory to be able to overwrite things that you weren't expecting. This is called a buffer overflow, and it occurs when you're writing information to memory and it spills over past the allocated space that was originally set for that amount of data. This is something that usually the people writing the application are going to make sure that nothing can write into memory where they weren't expecting it. They perform a bounds check and confirm that the information they're writing into memory fits perfectly into the space that's been allocated. But the bad guys know if they can write information that's outside of that allocated space, they may be able to gain access to your system that you did not intend. This can be a very difficult exploit to identify, and it can be difficult to make sure that the buffer overflow that you add to the system is performing the exact function that you'd like. But the bad guys know if they can find a buffer overflow that is not only repeatable, but it's also controllable, then they're going to have some access to your systems. Here's an example of a buffer overflow. This is an application that has been written to contain two different variables, variable A and variable B. And you can see there has been some space allocated for each variable. You can see that variable A has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bytes that it can use to allocate information. And you can see that variable B has 2 bytes available. There's already information that has been saved into variable B. You can see the value is 1979. If we look at the hex value, it's 07 Bravo Bravo. But the bad guys have realized the developer's not performing a bounds check for A, and not only can you write 8 bytes into A, you can write more than 8 bytes, causing a buffer overflow. So the bad guys will write into variable A 9 bytes of information, and you can see that it takes EXCESSIV, and then they actually put an E on the end, and that E is written into the first byte of variable B, something that should not happen if you're writing information to a single variable. This has now changed variable B to be the value 25856, very different than the original variable. That obviously is something that should not have happened. You should not be able to write information into variable A and have it change something in variable B. Now the bad guys will be able to take advantage of this. They'll try writing different things into variable B and see if that provides them with an access that they would not normally have into your system.
Did you understand the basic definition of buffer overflow? The buffer overflow is a memory related issue. So if you declare a variable like int a, int integer a, depending on the compiler dependent, the size of the memory it is going to be allocated for the int. There are many compiler versions are there with the C, Forland C, then normal C. The different compilers are there. So if we go with the standard compiler of C, integer, it would take the 2 bytes of memory. If you are pushing the behind the integer capacity, 2 bytes of memory means you are fixing the boundary to that variable integer. 2 bytes means how many number of range it is going to fit? 2 to the power of 16. How much it becomes? Approximately plus or minus 32,768 or 65,535 total size of the number. If it is goes behind, if you are trying to push the number value which is not fit in the range of that plus or minus, then it is going to try to store in the additional memory which is exceeded. As you've seen in this video, it is going to use the neighbor memory if you are not fixing the boundary. So the vulnerable languages C, C++, security issues were there because with the pointer concepts, you are locating, you are allowed you to access directly the memory addresses. By changing the memory address, by incrementing or decrementing the memory address, you may end up with the something else. That data, by using that data, the hackers is going to do a lot of many other stuffs depending on their purpose and intention of attack. So buffer overflow, buffers are nothing but a memory storage regions that temporarily hold data while it is being transferred from one location to another location. When you declare int A or character B or string C or float D, you are going to assign or declare or reserve the space for the variables of A, B, C, D in memory, temporary memory. If it is local variable, temporary memory. If it is global variable, permanent memory of life cycle of that program. Okay. So a buffer overflow occurs when the volume of data exceeds the storage capacity of the memory buffer. As a result, the program attempting to write the data to the buffer overwrites adjacent memory locations. As just now you watch in the video, so excessive, the word is used to fit in a variable A, but because of 8 bytes was reserved for the A, the excessive E is exceeded, so E is going to store in the variable B location. So in that, our garbage value is going to fit because E is terminated from the existing A initialization. So a buffer for login credentials may be designed to expect username and password inputs of 8 bytes. So if the designing itself for the login credentials is 8 bytes, 8 bytes means how many number of character you can hold? 8 characters, right? So if a transaction involves an input of 10 bytes, that is 2 bytes more than expected, the program may write the excess data past the buffer boundary. So if in the login page, if you go in the login page, nowadays it is most of the website are solved. The issue is solved because nowadays rather than using C++ languages, the advanced programming languages and compiler they are used. So in such cases, buffer overflow is minimized, not eliminated. It's a minimized. So let's go with the example of login. Let's go with the login page. For example, suppose if this email address is limited to the 100 characters in this box, if I am entering something behind the 100 characters, how this application behaves? How this application behaves? So since this web page is validated, obviously it will tell the error that this email does not exist. You check your username or password. But earlier days, it is directly go on checking with the error login. So simply it is redirecting to error login because that password or the user ID does not match. But in the case of dumping data, form data, suppose filling data, if it exceeds the limit of the database size, what you define? If the database size of a particular column, like for example, if you are accepting the address information of a candidate or the participant of any quiz, so if you are limiting it for 100 characters for that address by using the multi-line text box, if the person, if you are validated that the text box, if it exceeds the 100 character, if it notify the person please enter below the 100 character, that's fine, no buffer overflow. If you are not fixing the boundary, then user start keep writing the content onto that, but in the database the defined size is 100 characters, but you are inputting more than 100 characters in the web page while submission. So your truncation occurs for 100 characters, remaining address is not going to fill up in the memory. So how you designed and how you are writing the code at the back end, how to accept exceeded characters which you are inputting. If nothing, you are designed bad design, weak coding style if you followed, then that definitely your program or the software is ended with the segmentation fault or the memory error. Buffer overflow can affect all types of software. It is not only the programmings, all websites. If any software which is running with the help of the temporary memory, most of the software is going to be affected with buffer overflow. It is all about the user content. They typically result from malformed inputs. See, you observe how the buffer overflow happens because of malformed inputs. Intended was to, they are expected you to enter maximum 100 number of character in the address field. If you are trying to put more than the 100, obviously the capacity which it is defined at the backend in the database field as 100, so it is going to accept 100. Behind that, you can validate. You require to write the controller code in between to check how many number of character you entered in the address field. If it exceeded the 100, don't push into the database. Rather than push into the database, notify the user to reduce the address size, right? To allocate enough space for the buffer. If the transaction overrides executable code, this is very important. That's why in system, in your computer or the desktop or laptop, there are two kinds of drives: logical drives and physical drives. Secondary drive. In the logical drive, most of the executable code content will be there, whereas in secondary drive or the physical drive, only you are storing your audio, video, photograph, personal information. You can see the example in the PC. This is usually many a times we are maintaining C. C is a drive for logical. It is a logical drive, so you can obtain that information here in the disk management. So logical drive usually it will have a executable code program running running with the operating system coding or visual any other software which you installed in the C drive. Usually you are using C drive for the executable. So if you use the C drive for executable, the memory which is allocated for the C drive, you can look here. It is showing that primary partition. So you can see it is a C is a logical drive. This is a F drive is the yes. Oh, here F is, it is an external drive. It is connected currently now with the laptop, so it is showing this one. So logical drive, primary party. Usually the primary partition which will have a executable. The memory which is allocated for the C drive, if this memory, if you are using this memory to write the content of your movies which is going to be dumped in the drive, if you are fixed the boundary for this C drive, so the capacity of the boundary for the C drive you fixed is between 1 byte to 195 gigabytes. You fix the boundary. If it exceeded, then it warns you that the disk is full, so please clear the unwanted space. Otherwise it will end up with the blue screen error. That blue screen tells you that it is a buffer is get filled. Now you are trying to use the others memory, so we are not allowing you to use the others memory. If you want to use, you can just clear the unwanted space and you can use. Like that, the system, some precautions they have taken to avoid the buffer overflows. So the example which it is given in the video, the similar example, one more example is here. So the password is 8 bytes. If you are trying to push into the more than the 8 bytes, then remaining rest of the password content is going to fit in the another additional byte. It is termed to be as a of overflow. Buffer is a memory. Overflow is exceeded content is going to occupy the adjacent memory locations in the memory. So it is a one example of buffer overflow. So what is buffer overflow attack? Attackers exploit buffer overflow issues by overwriting the memory of an example application. So attacking is not just stealing the information, as you already understood that even denial of service also a attacking concern. So if the attackers exploit buffer overflow means, for example, suppose if you stored a program in your computer, suppose attacker is going to overwrite the program which you have written and stored in the memory. Suppose you intended to collect the information of a placement information. So you are running the application for two good cause, collecting the placement information. So whereas the attacker, what he is going to do is, your software is stored in the memory of your system. When he compromises your system, he is directly peep into the memory, and he simply made small changes in your code rather than collecting placement information. So let us say in the placement information field, there is an definitely there is a creating new password, changing the new password options are there at once if you log in, or getting information of the father's income. So let's say, so by in that father's income field, the front end it is looking like father income field only. At the back end, they are collecting and redirecting, or they are changing some code or injecting some malicious. Whenever you are input trigger happen, event happen, click event or the key in event happen, they are going to trigger some program to run behind the scene. So that is also a kind of attack, but it will not come to know at the foreground, right? So because they are able to access directly the memory of the program rather than the program of US code. Okay. So suppose attackers exploit buffer overflow issues by overwriting the memory of an application. This changes the execution path of the program, triggering a response that damages files or exposes private information. For example, an attacker may introduce extra code, sending new instructions to the application to gain access to IT systems. So they are not injecting through the front end interface, they are trying to attack at the background, which is not visible to the normal user. So this is even they can stop you to use your application. That is denial of service attack they can perform. They can perform the attack in such a way that they are injecting the script and they're performing the routine activities at the background. Whenever the client enters the forum, some information that script is going to collect and send it to the attacker. So these kind of the things which will happen with the buffer overflow. Buffer is nothing but memory. Keep in mind, buffer is nothing but your memory. If attackers knows the memory layout of a program, if attacker will come to know by reconnaissance information gathering tools, they will come to know that which operating system you are using, which are the which is the disk size, etc., and so on. They are collecting through by doing some small research in the reconnaissance. They will understand what is the buffer size, RAM size, etc., and so on. After obtaining such information, obtaining that, they can intentionally feed some input that buffer cannot store. Intentionally they are injecting some input, user data, as I said, address entry behind the 100 characters, like that. Nowadays most of the things is improved, advanced, but still if any possibilities are there with to inject with the software, they will try, because the attacker's job is to trying to find the vulnerabilities or weaknesses existing in the system by different way. So even it cannot store, then override areas that hold executable code. If when that input beyond, it goes behind the capacity of the memory, then it is trying to store that information in the executable memory where you stored your real program. When it corrupts the executable memory content, then when you are launching that application, your application is going to behave in different way, replacing it with their own code. For example, an attacker can overwrite a pointer, an object that points to another area in memory, and point it to an exploit payload to gain control over the program. So they can overwrite the existing memory. So once your system is compromised, once they come to know the memory capacity of your system, and once they access the executable code area, they can inject directly the assembly code. They won't write the simple normal compiler C code there. They are writing the assembly level instruction. They are writing, not the int a, not like that. Assembly instructions for the int a is some assembly instruction code that is going to be written by them directly to the memory. Otherwise memory won't accept, because it can, whatever you write at the front end code, it is going to compile. During compilation, it is going to create the assembly instructions, then machine level instructions. So assembly instructions and machine level instructions, if you are able to understand, you can also try for the buffer overflow attacks. Okay, it is up to you whether you want to do it for good or bad. So types of buffer overflow attacks: stack based buffer overflows and heap based attacks. Stacks based, as we discuss in our regular classes also, stack based and heap based. Try to avoid the stack based programming, right? So it is a more common and leverage stack memory that only exists during the execution time of a function. So heap based attacks are harder to carry out and involve flooding the memory space allocated for a program beyond memory used for current time operations. So try to avoid to write the stack based buffer flow programs. So why it is needed to avoid, I'll show you. This is stack based. This one is stack based. This is stack based. The first memory location, let us say this memory is nothing, variable a of 0, a of 1, like that. It is end up with 1 minus a of n minus 1, right? So this is stack based memory. So whereas heap based is, so picturically I am trying to make you understand. Heap based is like similar to like this. Freehand curving. Okay. Heap based is similar to like this. Here some memory, here some memory, here some memory. Here some memory used for some program. If you think uh, if you think this as an entire memory, in this entire memory, if it is the entire memory, some part of the memory, it means it is a almost free memory space. Some part of the memory, it is going to use some memory here, some memory here. Means a dynamic allocation is possible here in this case. Whereas here, what happens in stack based, just by moving the pointer to the next location, just by moving the pointer to the next location, the attacker, if he able to compromise the address of this particular instructions of your program, if he locates a initial address, then just by incrementing that address, he is going to obtain the next address space values through the, by incrementing the pointer, or by incrementing or decrementing. So this is called as stack based. This is called as heap memory. Suppose if he is suppose there is a lot of program code in your system. Let us say if you are going to use the hash memory to your code. So if the attacker is trying to compromise this one, by incrementing or decrementing, he may obtain the same software instructions of one single application. He may not going to gain the access of this or this or this, right? So whereas in stack based, everything it is in the stack format. Everything, all the memories are present in the stack. So by incrementing or decrementing the pointer, he could able to access the one software to other software. He can switch also. So this is the advantage of the stack and the heap. So that's why I try to use to write the heap kind of the programming. What programming languages are more vulnerable? As we discussed in the last few days also, same. C and C++ are two languages that are highly susceptible to buffer flow overflow attacks, because they allowed the user to access the pointers through the pointer. They are allowed to access the memory directly. There's a major drawback of, there's an advantage also as well as drawback of the in drawback in the sense limitation in the security. So as they don't have built-in safeguards against overwriting or accessing data in their memory. So Mac OS X, Windows, Linux are all use code written in C and C++. So why the major security issues with the buffer overflow means even Windows also written with C and C++, Linux also written in C and C++, Mac OS also written in C and C++. See, the basic language for the operating systems were C and C++. C and C++ don't have the built-in safeguards. While writing compilers, they did not taken care of the buffer overflow attacks. So that's the problem. Still today, we are facing a lot of buffer overflow issues in the coding. So whereas these languages Perl, Java, JavaScript, C Sharp use built-in safety mechanisms that minimize the likelihood of buffer flow. They are not telling that buffer flow is completely eliminated. No, because we don't know programming languages at certain extent it perform well when it goes behind the control of the user or the programmer. Obviously there will be a issue. We don't know, we called it as a real-time exception, or we can call it as a runtime exception. Probably you heard about these exceptions in Java programming while learning garbage collections and the exception handling mechanisms in Java. Probably you heard about this. So to avoid such buffer overflow, some built-in safeguard safety mechanism they have taken and designed the compiler of those things. Then how to prevent buffer overflow? So the developers can protect against buffer overflow vulnerabilities via security measures. As I said, for address space 100 in database field for the permanent address or communication address, you specified as a maximum character the user can input is 100. Not only it is just by specifying 100 it is going to accept 100. In the coding part, that is controller part, you need to check, verify whether user entered exactly 100 or less than 100 or more than 100. Exactly 100 or less than 100 is acceptable things, more than 100 is rejections. Otherwise, as I said, database error it will throw. So and so message it is going to throw. That's why in the controller coding you need to check, validate the input. So the three level of validation can be done in the interface level, like form filling. During form filling itself you can notify the user, please enter the address less than the 100 characters. That's the one. Second in the controller, third in the database. These three level of validation checks you need to do before allowing the user to fill up the forms. So security measures in their code by using languages that offer built-in protection. In addition, modern OS have runtime protection. Three common protections are ASR, address space randomization. Built in, these are the three different protections are address space randomization, randomly moves around the address space locations of data region. As I shown here, rather than fix up with the incremental way, they are using the random, they are choosing the new. For example, one more new software is going to use, it is going to choose the new location. It is going to choose the new location, not from the exactly where it was previously allocated it, and stop fix the boundary for previous one. If another new comes, then it is going to use the another location. So randomly, so address space randomization solves, it uses the heap memory to solve the issues probably which will be raised by the overflow. So typically buffer overflow attacks needs to know the locality of the executable code, and randomizing address spaces makes this virtually impossible. As I said, just in a stack based, if the attacker able to locate the address of a particular executable code, if he is if he traced this one, just by incrementing or decrementing the pointer, he can gain the access in the memory. Whereas here in the heap based, if he may get the access of a particular executable code, he may not get the access of this one, because so whatever you are seeing, this entire space is, for example, if your laptop having the space of 1 terabytes of the memory, if he may locate a particular software to exploit the thing, but he may not, he may not, it is means it is possible nowadays, but with the high computational power, but it is impossible during that time when they define that address randomizations, address space randomization. So but it will take a lots of computational power to because this is entire memory size is 1 terabyte. In that, some space is allocated for some soft executable code, some executables like that. Okay, so that is the one way of protection, internal protection of this operating system. Then data execution prevention flags certain areas of memory as non-executable. For example, here let's go with some area. This area is executable code area. We're dividing this into the two parts or three parts depending on the usage. Let's say this above the line is executable area, below the line is non-executable area. So if you think of that, it flags certain areas of memory as non-executable or which stops an attack from running code in a non-executable region. So execution region is there. If a attacker compromises this code, he is trying incrementing or decrementing. If we start decrementing, the boundary it is fixed for executable is only this area. He will not allow to penetrate or enter into the non-executable area. This is the one way of protection of, that is data execution prevention. Then the third way is structured exception handler overwriting protection. It helps stop malicious code from attacking structured exception handling, a built-in system for managing hardware and software exception. As I said, 3 level of protection you can provide: validation check at the form level itself, then the controller level, then database level. Similarly, depending on the hardware and software capacity, the code, the executable code, whether it is going to execute in this specified software, etc. or not, before installing it into the system, it is going to check this. So similarly, Android Studio, if you are trying to install the Android Studio in 2 GB RAM of the system is going to warn you this may execute in this 2 GB RAM, but not the expected performance. Okay, so it thus prevents an attacker from being able to make use of the SEH, structured exception handling, override exploitation technique. At a functional level, SEH override is achieved using a stack-based buffer overflow to override an exception registration record stored on a thread stack. So structured exception handling, still if they want to carry out, means they will look for the stack-based memory, not going with the heap memory. Okay, security measures in code and operating system protection are not enough. When an organization discovers a buffer flow vulnerability, it must react quickly to patch the affected software. Not only the limitation of software or the hardware and the precautions, you are limiting the access to the executable area or the non-executable area. Not only the side of the side of the hardware or software level, even the organizations, those who are going to use that hardware and software to install their software to run, they need to monitor the software, how it is behaving, how it is working. They need to continuously monitor. If they are able to find any vulnerabilities, immediately they are patch up that vulnerabilities. Otherwise, zero-day attack it will happen. It must react quickly to patch the affected software and make sure that users of the software can access the patch. Not only the patches update should happen at the organization level, at the user client level also, client needs to be updated those patches, right? So to perform well. Okay, these are the buffer overflow attack, the in detail information. So, any questions are there, you let me know. Am I able to make you understand about buffer overflow? Yes or no? Still have a doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, any other questions? Because from tomorrow onwards, I will go with third module. If any other questions are there, let me know.
Sir, can you tell about the innovative question? What will it be?
Innovative was given, right? Cyber terrorism.
Okay, sir.
Mumbai attack, Ahmedabad attack, if any other attack, latest attacks, today, not today, yesterday, some attack was happened. Do you aware of it? Bank attack was happened yesterday. Any of you are aware of it? Where you get that information? Attacking information. News, public media, or the some news feeds in the mobile phones. So lots of information gathering is required, especially if you practice the cyber security.